Hello everyone, John Maher here. It's Thursday, 23rd of October 2025, and this is your weekly Grass10 grazing management update on the dairy edge. Well, I suppose from a rainfall point of view, it has been a difficult enough week. We've had a nice bit of rain last weekend and a nice bit of rain during the week, but most of that rainfall that's predicted for the week is I suppose, set to drop a bit. When we look at the week gone by, average farm cover has started to drop, not by much, we're still above 800, but the week has brought a nice bit of rain. About 3 inches, I suppose, in many places over the last 6 or 7 days, which is about 60 or 70 millimetres. And grass growth is now in the 30s. To give the figures then, average farm cover was 822, with a cover per livestock unit around 290. Growth was 36, demand is 40. So now we are eating more than we are growing. The diet of the dairy cow on average on pasture-based figures was 13 kilos of grass, 4 kilos of meal, 2 kilos of silage, and the average pre-grazing yield was about 1850. When you look at it in terms of farms, about 30% of farms have on average farm cover less than 700. This is a bit of a concern, as I suppose many farms will need to close the 700 on the 1st of December. So care has to be taken there, and over 30% of farms had an average farm cover greater than 900. So huge variation grass supply on farms, challenges this week with weather, but for the week ahead, growth is predicted to be in the mid-20s and rainfall about an inch, particularly in the southern counties, but most of this will have fell earlier in the week. But anyway, grazing conditions are going to be challenging for some farms, particularly those on heavy land. And I suppose you're back then to what I call heads up grazing in terms of trying to get grass into the diet of the animal and at the same time close up the farm, which is the twin objectives, right? So closing up the farm is to ensure that we have early spring grass and a wedge or a supply of grass in the spring. The closing of the farm by the farmer is the biggest influence by a mile on the level of grass available next spring. So you have to keep that in mind. At the same time, we have to keep grass in the diet of the cow for as long as possible, mainly because this will lower the feed cost, but also increase the milk solids. Once we get into silage, we lower animal performance, I suppose, is the best way of putting it. Looking ahead then in terms of closing, I suppose, very quickly, farms with heavy land or of high demand, high stocking rate, compact calving, maybe calving in January, all that, they'd want to have about 50% of the farm close up now by, today, and maybe a bit more, with about 80% of the farm closed by early November. Those on heavy land may be finished by the early November. So it will depend on how things go in terms of both demand of the herd and weather. But, the main aim is to have grass there next spring. So that's why we talk about closing up. I suppose farms that are going to close in mid-November should have about 30% of the farm closed now. You could do numbers like by the 20th of October, 1/3, by the 1st of November, another third, and the last third between the 1st of November and mid-November, I suppose, as a kind of a guide. But that'll be driven by both grass supply and weather, and fundamentally what grass you want on the 1st of December. So I'll come to that a little bit later with our feature farmer, Niall O'Regan. But look, as of today, for farms who want to close in mid-November, have a reasonable demand in the spring, you'd want 1/3 of the farm close and another 60%, I suppose, a total of 60% by the 1st of November. Yeah, they're kind of the targets in terms of closing up. Will be a little bit challenging this week in terms of clean out now, because the rain has come. But optimize the graze out then, I suppose. You're using, grass allocations every 12 hours with the strip wire, trying to use multiple access, exit in one way, out another way. And I suppose the most important thing is for the silage in the diet to ensure that the cows have an appetite going out to grass. If there's silage in the diet and they have free access to silage in the morning and the weather is tricky and the ground conditions are poor, it's going to be difficult to get them to have an edge to do what they're supposed to do in terms of grazing, particularly if the cover is high, as in, 2000 or above. So you're trying to maintain good clean out. You're trying to condition the sward to be green and leafy going into the autumn. So, getting a good clean out is important here. In terms of lime application then, I suppose is another important thing. There is still and will be good opportunity, I suppose, to spread lime. This should be not forgotten, as lime is key to correcting soil pH, has many, many benefits in terms of releasing nitrogen from the soil, releasing soil P and soil K, especially soil P, getting better response to fertilizers. People don't realize that with lime. And I suppose, supporting the establishment of clover, as clover is quite sensitive to soil pH and won't survive if the pH is too low. Speaking of our feature farmer, Niall O'Regan from Mallow in County Cork, he has 120 tonne of lime spread in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So there's a message there for everybody. There's opportunity there, there's money there. It's a case of getting the planning right. And there's a big return from lime. It's one of the best returns of all the things you can do on the farm. I will say from a grazing perspective, every euro spent in lime, you'll get a return of €7 between grass growth, grass survival, release of soil, P, preventing losses of nitrogen from fertilizer because the soil pH is too low. So there's massive gains to be got from lime. Speaking of Niall then, his average farm cover is about 950, grew 47, eaten 43. So grass supply demand story is starting to come close together. His cover per livestock unit was about 325 and stocked at just under 3 cows per hectare. Milk about 250 cows just outside Mallow. Mixture of land, I suppose. Most was reasonably good, but there are some heavy parts to the farm. But the cow's diet last week was 15, 16 kilos of grass and 4 kilos of meal. Crossbred herd here now, doing about 5.68 fat, 4.7 protein, fairly consistent, with a yield of about 14 litres, which results in about 1.5 kilograms of milk solids per cow per day. Current grazing management is obviously challenging with the bit of rain that's fallen here in the Cork area over the last few days, particularly the weekend. But allocating grass every 12 hours, trying to get the clean out right. We'll close up the clover paddocks by early November, and his target average farm cover for December 1st is 750 kilograms of dry matter. Just to put numbers to that, if we close up the farm by the 10th of November, for example, that means 20 days growth to the 1st of December. If I assume 7 or 8 a day, that would be 20 days by 7 or 8 a day in November, which would be a growth of 150. To have a 750 then on the 1st of December, you couldn't have a grass cover less than 600 on the 10th of November. So that's key now. And every paddock taken out late in day has a massive influence in spring grass supply. So as I said before, 2/3 of the grass is available, and next February comes what's grown in October, and we need to keep this in mind. I suppose the other key figure here, every week delay in closing up the farm results in an average farm cover of about 100 kilos less. So I suppose we're coming to that phase now at the end of October where, getting those closing up proportions right, having the right cover on the farm in early November, to have the right cover in the 1st of December, to have grass in the spring. I suppose that's the main message this week. Keep that in mind and try your best to deal with the grazing conditions are there. It's really a lot about getting the grazing allocations right, get on, get off, without doing too much damage. There will be a level of surface damage with the rain that we've had, but as long as on the surface and not deep, then we can get around this. So if you'd like to hear more from the Grass10 team, subscribe to the weekly Grass10 newsletter, which is available on the Grass10 page on the Teagasc public website, and the link to the newsletter is also available in the description of this podcast. We'd like to thank all those who support the Grass10 campaign, which are AIB, Grass and Agro, Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine, FBD and the Farmers Journal. This has been your Grass10 update, and I will talk to you all next week, and I hope that the grazing conditions will just be a little bit better. Best luck and thank you.